The residents in that province are still reeling from this week's heavy rains, which have led to deadly floods, power cuts and blocked roads. Our reporter S'bongakonke Mbatha has been monitoring the situation for us.
According to community members of Umlazi Township, the devastation caused by torrential rains actually gained momentum Monday night. And of course, Tuesday morning, we woke up to many houses and many sections flooded. But in particular, there was a video that trended on social media showing a 4-room house in this particular section falling apart and people around the community screaming, pleading for help and calling everyone who was inside that house to come out. If I could just for a moment step out of shot so that my colleague Ngcobo could show you the extent of the damage that was caused after that video circulated. This is how this particular area was left out. The house was entirely swept away by the floods or by the rain at that current point, and the house next to it, only half of it is left behind. But what is of more concern to community members is the houses above it, because half of their foundation is actually hanging on the air, and they worry because now they're saying that come next section of floods or come the next rain, the moment it rains again, it means that both these houses are also going to be suffering the same fate. Of course, they are calling out for help and they're calling out for government to assist them, because now they live in fear because these houses stand a better chance of suffering the same fate. But of course, we do understand that over and above that video, it shows one house falling apart, but it doesn't really show the extent at which when the house fell, it rolled towards another house, which also suffered the same fate. But unfortunately, something tragic happened because an 8-year-old boy, 10-year-old rather, lost his life. And earlier on, speaking to one of the boys who was inside the house, who actually managed to survive and get out the house before the worst could happen, he was narrating to me what had happened in that very moment yesterday morning. He's saying that his father had just gone out for help and he was left with his brother playing cards. That's where the worst happened. A stone came and hit the house. That's where he realized that something bad was about to happen. In that very moment, he tried to call the other young boy, but unfortunately, he stood on top of a bed, which also turned, being hit by some of the appliances in the house. He could still hear him crying. That's what he could say. He said that he could still hear him crying inside the house as he went out trying to look for help. And of course, community members from Umlazi tried to save the boy, but unfortunately, he had already passed away. So right now, family members of the house that was right behind me are currently homeless. They seek refuge amongst neighbors for the night, and this morning they were out on the streets. They tried to salvage of what could have been left of their belongings, but they lost everything. One of the boys who was inside this house, which suffered this devastating fate, was actually narrating to me this morning that it was just in a nick of time that he heard people saying that come out, there's something wrong happening, and he could also feel that there was something wrong happening, because the entire time he had thought that it was just rain. But the moment he could feel to the ground that something is happening on the floor, that's where he managed to escape, only saving himself. Currently, it's a family of 11 people. They are currently lost everything. They have nothing only but the clothes that they have on their backs. So they're calling out for help from various organizations, community members themselves, because many of them, as soon as yesterday when tragedy struck, they came together under the hashtag Rebuild Umlazi. So they're currently regrouping to see what assistance can they offer their neighbors in terms of food, shelter, and other necessities moving forward.
All right, that's S'bongakonke Mbatha, part of our team in KwaZulu-Natal, keeping a very close eye on the developments there in that province.